You are standing at the end of a road before a small brick building. Around you is a forest. A small stream flows out of the building and down a gully. Thus begins the opening text of Colossal Cave Adventure, originally called just Adventure by its creator, Will Crowther. In addition to being a computer programming nerd, Crowther was also a caving and rock climbing nerd. In the 1970s, he spent most of his free hours either playing Dungeons & Dragons or exploring Mammoth Cave in south central Kentucky with his wife. Believe it or not, this guy's wife actually divorced him for some reason. Now finding himself with a lot of spare time, Crowther developed his adventure game to entertain his 2 kids and presumably to distract himself from his deep sadness. The game combined Crowther's 2 great loves. No, not his children. Caving and D&D. An entirely text-based affair, players would need to navigate a complex underground labyrinth in order to recover a series of treasures. In 1977, programmer Don Woods released a modified version of the game with Crowther's blessing, adding more treasures and more fantasy elements. This version of the game is the one that spread and lit a fire in the minds of the public and game developers alike. While it technically wasn't the first text adventure game ever made, it was the first one that anybody cared about at all, inspiring the name of the very genre, adventure games. On today's episode, we take to our keyboards and get ready to map out a good time as we endeavor on what can only be called a Colossal Cave Adventure. It's a video game podcast.
Wow!
And there's so much to discuss. One of us knows all about them.
That's you.
And the other one's a dunce.
That's me.
You're gonna learn about the very best games with 2 annoying dorks.
Fatality.
From asteroids to Zelda. From adventure to Zork. We have no life, and we feel no shame. We need your help, 'cause we're bad with games. Bad with games. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
Oh, and we are Bad with Games.
Here we are. We're in the caves.
Wow, we're caving today.
Oh, man.
That's right. For a real immersive experience, close your eyes and imagine a cave.
Yeah, this is like that classic game Cave Explorer from like that comic.
It is like that, but in fact what we're doing today is discussing Colossal Cave Adventure, also sometimes known as Cave Adventure, also sometimes known as just Adventure. But we will be referring to it as Colossal Cave Adventure. This is a text adventure game released originally in 1976. Before we even talk about anything, I just want to get this out of the way again. We are available in audio form wherever you get podcasts, or you might be watching this on YouTube at Bad with Games. And I said this for Pac-Man, but truly this week, I don't know what the video experience of this will be because we don't show ourselves. We just show gameplay of the game. Right. This is a text adventure game. I can only imagine how disorienting it would be to try to follow along with someone's text adventure playthrough while listening to them have a completely different discussion at the same time. I just don't really know. I know you say people don't pay attention to YouTube videos, but I just don't know what this is going to be.
I think there might be a couple sections of my video that would work well for video, and the rest of it, you're just going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, it's going to be there. You're going to see text adventuring happening. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, every podcast is kind of like a text adventure if you transcribe it and read it. You know what? I say every book is a text adventure. I don't even know. What am I even doing?
Do you say that? Is that a thing you say?
Yes, I frequently say it.
Said it more than once?
No.
I think more than once is the bar.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well,
you could do it again.
Maybe later on. Listen, things have been happening. Things have been
Mhm.
happening in your life.
I've had a busy week.
We're not going to get into it, but it's been a challenging week. But we're here for you, listeners, maybe viewers. We're excited for our 5th episode to discuss a completely different kind of game than we've done before. Again, this game was released in 1975, 6? Why do I keep getting it
right?
wrong? It's
Yes.
6. It's 1976. However, the version that we played, which was really the version that took off and became popular, was released a year later and has a lot more stuff going on in it. So technically we didn't play the true OG, which for a time was actually thought to be lost until somebody found the code somewhere on some hard drive. But yeah, we played this. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, but this original one was old enough. I had like skimmed over it and I didn't quite pick up on the details, but it seemed to me like the original one kind of predated like monitors and was intended to be like you instead of getting a display on a monitor, it would print out on the printer the text for like the new room or whatever. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I don't know if it predated monitors.
Or just like was used like they weren't common. It was on a university computer that didn't have it or some shit.
Right, correct. Yeah. I mean, 1976, people didn't even have computers in their homes, really.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
No, I mean, more than just really. you basically had to be like a Bell Labs or a university if you had a computer, effectively, or the government.
Yeah. So if you're making computer games in the 70s, you're a huge dork. Yes, it could be played on a teletype printer. Wild.
Sure.
We played, I believe it's the IBM, the version made for IBM, which I don't know. It might have been 1977. I think what we're playing might have actually been slightly updated for use in like the early 80s. But the thing we did was, you'll see it on the screen if you're watching. It's just text. It's white text, black screen, nothing fancy.
Yes, I mean, we ran it in DOS effectively, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. Yes. So real old school. This is our earliest game we've covered so far. Pretty exciting. Mm-hmm. One of the earliest games we will cover. Yeah, maybe it could have been. I did kind of struggle with this. I made you listen to me talk about my thought process on this last week. Because, for some, it's hard for me to decide for some genres, since you are, of course, a person who doesn't have any experience with these games. What's the proper way to go about doing this? For instance, our first episode was Mario Brothers. That wasn't the first platformer. We could have started with Pitfall or something. Mm-hmm. But I felt that in that case, it made more sense to start with kind of the more thing that popularized it, and then later we can go back to the earlier versions of it. Here, I originally did not have Cave Adventure this early in the show, or even, I don't even know if I had it anywhere yet. But for some reason, then I was looking at, we were going to do Zork and we were going to do King's Quest and all these things. And for some reason, I got into my head, we should do Cave Adventure first. We got to start with the earliest one. And now that we've done through it, we'll talk about it. I think maybe I did make the right choice, but I don't know if it was the only right choice.
It's hard to say. I did see somebody say that this is not a good choice for somebody's first ever text adventure, but
I think that is true if you want them to like text adventures.
Okay.
I don't think that that's true if you are doing a podcast and learning about the history of text adventures necessarily.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like because like a normal person, if they're just like, oh, I've heard about text adventures, and they sat down and played this, after 5 minutes, they'd be like, what the fuck? And they would leave. But if you're committed and this is your job, your assignment to play it, then I think you're more willing to give it some grace and put a little more effort into figuring it out, and it can work better in that way.
Yes, I mean, without even getting into it, this is so clearly geared toward 1970s computer nerds and not normal people who have anything better to do with their time.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not that different from us.
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, I'm not making a judgment on quality yet. That's for the end of the episode. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's clearly the target audience.
Right. Well, I mean, okay, so a little history. I talked about it in the intro, but I'll say it again because I think it's pretty interesting in the case of this game. This was made by one guy, and a different guy added the stuff later on that we also played. But William Crowther was this guy who I imagine you would have a lot in common with. I think if you met this guy in the 70s and you were in college, he would have been your best friend. Because he was a caver and a rock climber. Yes. Already, I know you're horny for this guy.
Well, I have opinions on that, but
and he was a D&D nerd. I mean, he was just a guy. He was a loser. He was a huge loser dork in the 70s.
But he did have a wife at one point.
Yeah, that's true, and 2 kids.
Yes.
But
so,
hey,
how big of a loser could he be?
Well, his wife was also a caver, so it sounds like they met through the cave community.
Right.
But anyway, I think you mentioned it every other episode that you love rock climbing. I don't know if you've ever. I know you've gone into caves. Everyone's done the Carlsbad Caverns or something similar.
Right.
Well, at least on the I think that's across the country, right? Everybody's done that. But I don't know if what your feelings are about caving, like actually going in and exploring and that kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, caving is really cool, right? Like the idea of just being like, oh, like I'm down in this area, I get to explore in here. Ooh, there's all this like rock around. I have to fit through this, and I have to look at this, and I found this like super hidden, secluded area. Like in theory, that's all really nice, but then you look at like the reality of it, and it's just like you're slogging through mud, you're slogging through waist-high water. It's just everything about it to me makes it seem like the actual physical experience of being in the cave would be overwhelmingly miserable. Like just a horrible experience. And I don't know that would be the sort of thing that I would ever actually want to do for real. Also, climbing in the 70s is not like climbing in the aughts, which was when I was like super into it. In that at that point, it was all like weirdo dirtbags who like just like absolutely couldn't deal with society, and like you didn't have good technical gear, and it was a lot more dangerous. By the time I was getting into it, it was like, yeah, you still have those people around, but you're also getting a lot more of the like suburban normies coming in. There's a lot more just like it's like basically totally safe at this point. Everything is like super technical. It's like it's a very different culture between those two different groups of people, which is not to say that I wouldn't have liked him as a 70s climber loser type, but it is to say that he's not exactly my people.
I don't know. I'm starting to think, I wonder if you're at some point going to go through a time loop and this actually was you.
That could be. You never know.
Yeah. Sort of an Alan Fangor kind of thing.
Right. Yes. I mean, okay, so wait a second. He is Will.
Right.
So how do we get the last name?
You do like Crow from Mystery Science Theater.
Okay, yes.
And birds.
Yeah.
You like birds, too.
Right. Yes, okay. You're on to something here.
Yeah, I'm seeing this all come together. All right. Caving is stupid. As far as I'm concerned, caving gave us 3 worthwhile things. This game, the movie The Descent, right? And that creepypasta where they go in a cave and there's ghosts or something. I forget what happens, but it was creepy.
But like, isn't that kind of like the part of the reason those creepy things are so cool is because in theory, going down in a cave is really cool. So like, you make it creep. It's like, oh shit, this is so cool. There, in real life, it wouldn't be. It would suck.
Yeah,
At least I think it would.
I
Not
mean,
having
it
tried
does. Yeah, in real life, especially when you get into the more claustrophobic and gross areas of the caves, and it's pitch black, dark. Yeah, that sucks. But it does appeal to that sense of exploration that even
Mhm.
last week's Zelda taps into. I think actually those two games, this game and that game. Oh God, we just started. We're already running out of steam. I think this game and Zelda have a lot in common, actually, in multiple ways. But in that one way, they both are like, remember being in real life? They're both trying to recreate the feeling of going outside and just looking around and finding stuff.
Yeah, that's the beauty of video games is that you can do that, but you don't have to go anywhere and you
Mm.
don't get tired and it's
Oh,
not like
yeah.
icky and yucky and there's no bugs and water and mud and all that crap.
So good. Now, let's then ask the next question. Do you have any experience? I know you don't have experience with Cave Adventure, but
Mhm.
text adventures of any kind.
I have some, but minimal. Like I have played one or two like small ones that I can't remember. I think when I was in high school, I tried making like a very small text adventure on my graphing calculator. Uh,
What the
I
fuck, you fucking
I played
loser?
the Homestar Runner one. One of my friends, I think, made like a big one on his graphing calculator. I don't know, but yeah, I played the Homestar Runner one. I have some actual memories of that, but nothing substantial.
That is worth mentioning, I think. Was that Dungeon Man or Thy Dungeon Man or something? Is
That
that a different
sounds
thing?
right. I do not know what it was called or any. I remember a couple of details, but not much. But that sounds right. Thy Dungeon Man or something.
Um,
I'm sure you could look it up.
Thy Dungeon Man. Yes, that is correct, which is the text adventure from homestarrunner.com, which was a comedy internet website back in
They
the
don't.
early 2000s.
If they don't know, they don't deserve to. You should know.
Which actually did it have images? Oh no, they later made a sequel that was like a
Mm.
adventure game more with art and stuff like that.
Okay, I did not play one with art.
Oh really? I feel like you probably would. I'd be surprised if you didn't. You probably just don't remember. Maybe it was
okay.
a Trogdor thing. I just assume you did every Homestar thing that I did. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
I mean, there's a good chance I did. So,
but yeah, I
Anyway.
do think Thy Dungeon Man was a big for our generation, for us millennials.
mhm.
That's probably where most people discovered the idea of a text adventure game, and it does play with a lot of the cliches of the genre. It's a funny thing. I should go. We should do that for an episode.
We should do that for an episode. What the heck? I don't even know how long those are. We should do a Homestar Runner episode where we just do other games.
Yeah.
Games.
Well, how come those weren't on Gwen's suggestions list? Maybe they were.
Yeah, what the fuck, Gwen? Or maybe they were.
Anyway, I didn't actually look at it. I too have some experience with text adventure games. I have never played this one, and I've also never played Zork, which we'll get to, which is like the big one. There was a time when I downloaded a bunch of old text adventures just because I don't know, I got into a phase where I thought they were really cool. And I also have made a couple text adventures, not on my graphing calculator. Good Lord.
And tell you how much of a nerd I was. I because I was doing calculator basic in order to do the inputs. Like instead of doing words, I just had single letters for commands, and so at the beginning I stored each letter as a different prime number, and then I saw whether it was divisible by it to see what command was used.
Oh, what? Huh?
I knew that would bother you.
What was it? Oh my God, where am I? Oh, I feel terrible for some reason. I was having this horrible dream that you were talking about really boring shit. I'm so glad it's over. There's this software called Quest, which I used to make a couple of rudimentary, I like to call them, text adventure games, which was a lot of fun. I'm not a good computer programmer. I don't really know any languages, but this Quest thing has a sort of way in for normies such as myself. That's right. That's what I'm calling myself now.
You're a good writer, though.
Thanks.
So
Well,
there
that's
you
what's
go.
that's
Yeah.
what's so that's what I kind of part of what I love about text adventures as a person who wants to create things but has no technical skill is that it's like, well, I can't like draw art. I can't make a video game. I'm like, that would require me to actually learn something for real. But I can learn how to, make text stuff happen, and I have enough determination within me to put that amount of effort in. So that was a lot of fun. I was trying to do another one more recently. There's a different program called Inform, which has a very different kind of programming language where it's all language based. I know that sounds stupid to say, but it's meant to be. I can't even explain it the way it's formatted. It's not how you would think of a typical programming language. It's you sort of write sentences that are grammatically correct. Like you will literally write in the code, there is a hat in the room. And then when you run the program, it's like, oh, now you're in a room and you can see there's a hat. So in a sense, it's more accessible because you're not really learning code per se, but you still do have to learn these weird grammar rules and everything. Anyway, it's something I'd like to go back to. I didn't get too far with it, but there are a lot of different ways that there is still this very, very, very niche community out there that continues to make and publish text adventures online, and you can play all of them for free. I don't think anyone is trying to sell these. They know it's a lost cause. It's like one of maybe the last things on the internet that people are doing purely for the love of the game.
Yeah. What was that game you had me play? That it was like an indie game and like everything was one word. That was basically a text adventure.
Yes, which maybe we should get to much later probably, but I can't remember the actual name of this game. But it's a relatively recent text adventure, but you don't actually type in words. Yeah, it's always a choice, and every description of every room is just a single word. God damn it! I should look this up.
There he
What's
goes.
this called?
I hear that keyboard.
Ord. It's called Ord. O-R-D. Anyway, go check that out. But we're talking about cave adventure. So there's our background. So I went into this sort of knowing to some extent. I know there are commands that you need to use. Look and take, and a lot of times it'll be give or use. Now, some of those are in this game, some of them aren't, because some of them are later developments. I don't know. Do you want to start with your experience? Because I'm curious. It sounds like you maybe had some sort of idea about this, and they do give you there is a help screen and an info screen that can give you some hints. But I wonder how much of this game was you just really fighting against figuring out what verbs you could say, which is sort of part of it.
That I think is the essence of every text adventure, is fighting against what like the words are. Right. Like how do you get it to do what you want to do? I will say there were some standards like use or give not like working, that were, it was just like, oh my God, are you serious type of thing. Like you find something that's locked and you're like, okay, I want to use the key on this. I don't know what use means. All right, unlock. I do know what unlock means. Oh, thanks. Good. Excellent. Good. Wow. I'm glad you programmed that in. Type of thing. That sort of thing. Yeah. So let's see here. Clearly this is very early. One of the first things that I was struck by when I started playing is that you actually have to like work to get into this stupid cave, right? Like
Yeah.
one of the my initial assumption as if I'm playing a game called Colossal Cave Adventure, I'm gonna start off and like be like, okay, cool, there's a cave, you can go in it. Um, I find it very interesting that you can get lost in the forest, and I did, before you even go to before you even find the cave.
Colossal
Um,
Forest Adventure.
Yes, I,
Bonus.
I mean, I actually did like a lot of wandering. At one point, I even looked up like, where is this stupid cave? And they were like, yeah, it's under the grate. It's funny because the hint that I saw said it's under the grate, and I was like, well, obviously, if I had seen a grate, I would know it's under there. Where's the damn grate? But it didn't tell me that, and I was like, all right, fine. I guess I'm still looking.
I
That
don't
didn't
think I
help at all.
wandered that much in the. Is there stuff in the forest? I feel like I just
No,
found. Yeah.
if
Okay.
if you go in the forest, it's one of those things where there's a ton of different screens, but they all just say you are in the forest. So you just start going in directions and it just gives you are in the forest over and over again until you, yeah.
Well, let me just cut in for a second
Hmm.
here,
Hmm.
and because I want like to what you're saying, it really demonstrates the difference in my mind of versus when I tried to make a text adventure
Hmm.
in modern day, and I very much, and most of this comes from playing personally from playing point and click adventure games, non-text, but that this is really the birth of that genre. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of overlap between them, even though one is text, one is, you know, graphics. Um, but generally speaking, in my mind, I'm like, I want to make this accessible for people. I don't want people to be hunting for verbs because that's the thing that's
Hmm.
annoying. So as much as possible, when I was designing stuff, I would try to make it. I would try to make use the verb pretty much.
Hmm.
So that it was really more about you figuring out what to do with things and less about figuring out what word I wanted you to use. Which in some ways, I think some people don't like that. I think there's text adventure purists out there who don't like the use thing because it feels almost like cheap or something. They want it to feel they like the verb hunt to some extent. And
Yeah,
then
I can, yeah, oh,
yeah,
yeah, keep going. Hmm.
sure. But then I just also going to say another thing is, I was much more focused on the writing itself and on when you enter a room, there's descriptions of everything and anything
Hmm.
I feel like nowadays modern text adventures, this is kind of the etiquette is that if you mention something, the player must be able to then look at it
Mm.
and you'll get a description, or if you can
Hmm.
try to take it and it'll tell you can't or something, just to make the world feel alive. And this game is very much like, it mentions a window and then I'm like, open window. And it's like, was there a window? I didn't know. Like and
Yes.
descriptions of rooms are much more sparse and it's really more about just getting through and solving stuff than it is for the most part making you feel like you're in a
Yes.
place.
Yes, this was definitely a problem that I had. There were like some of the descriptions were pretty like fun, but yes, I do feel like it suffered a bit from as you said, I want to look at each individual thing in the room to get just a little more information. It like, I want to think about where I am. Is this useful? Is this the thing I'm going to do? What can I do here? Um and there wasn't that much there. Now, both of these things I can kind of forgive. Um because something like the use issue
Verb.
verb is one of the first text adventures ever, so it does kind of make sense that I'm just in here and I'm just trying to figure out like, all right, somebody's gonna go through what am I saying here. It doesn't necessarily, it's obvious in hindsight that having a general purpose use verb might be a good idea, but like, especially if you're coming from like D&D, right? You might think to yourself like, okay, there's a locked door, the player has the key, right? What do you want to do? Are they going to say I use key, or are they going to be like,
Mm,
I want to unlock that door, right? So you can kind
right.
of imagine, if you're not, if you, because I do think that these things are very directly a descendant of effectively D&D.
Yeah.
um that like I can see that, and I can forgive not having these standards in place. I can also forgive the lack of descriptions. Not just for the individual things, but also sometimes when you're in certain passageways, it's like, okay, you're in a long passageway, it goes north, south, east, west, or whatever. And, this is not a big room, so it doesn't get a description. And that's because, like, these computers didn't have, like, memory, right? What was it? It was like 1,800 lines of code and 1,800 lines of descriptions, and that's the entire game or something. So I can see why, if you're doing this, you get to this point where you're like, all right,
Yeah.
I can't put too much more in there.
The original version that he made had 700 lines of code and 700 lines of data.
God damn.
So, yeah. And you're also, I guess, taking into account how much text can fit on a teletype printout.
Right.
I don't really know how that works.
There were commands that were in there to be all like, yeah, you could have it so that every time you went in a room, it gives you the full description of the room. But then if you've been there before, it just says you're in debris room, right? And it's like, why?
Right.
Because you have to wait for the printer to print that goddamn thing out, and you don't want to do that every time you're in that room.
Definitely would not be feasible for the way I played this game, wandering back and forth and looking again and again in 50 rooms.
Yes. Well, I mean, one thing you are clearly supposed to do with this room is you are supposed to be making like a physical map in real life, which I was just not having. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm figuring out how to get around.
All right. Well, let's get into that. So you never attempted to do that, take notes or anything like that? Did pencil and paper ever enter your world?
Did not enter my world. It entered my head that I was supposed to be doing it, and I was like, this was kind of a rough week for me. This would have been This would have been a better week for a game where I didn't have to like sit down and think about what I was doing, because I was in no mood. I was just like, I'm just playing it. I'm gonna figure out what I can find and see. Yes, that's certainly a thing that came up. Did you use pencil and paper to figure this out?
No, I used pen.
Mm-hmm.
But yes. I'm dropping things. Oh, there it is. I'm good. I'm good, everybody. First, I did just write down, because I wasn't sure how hard this was going to be. I wrote down, just for reference, some basic actions I could do, like all the directions. I didn't really need to write that down, but I was trying to get into it. I was starting out. Right. I was like, let me really get into this, because I like a game where sometimes you have to take notes. A puzzle adventure game, stuff like sometimes I think that can be very, very fun. And then I first started to make a map. I'm holding them right here. Maybe I'll take a picture and put it in the video. I first started to make a map, and my method was I just drew a square for each room with a line in the direction I went, and then the next square. And then I would put a little note like, this is where the grate was. This room had a cage in it. This is the debris room, or whatever. And what I first found was that, I don't know, tell me if this is true of your experience, because for all I know, I misunderstood or did something wrong or different. But initially, so the way it works is you find the grate eventually, hopefully. You use keys, you get inside. You're in the cave. It's begun. And then there's like 5 rooms in a row that are just west.
Yes.
So I started drawing my map in the middle of the page, and pretty soon I'm like, west, west, west. Like, I'm going to run out of room on the damn page. Why is everything west? And then there's a pit, and you go down, because you can also go up and down in this game, not just the cardinal directions.
Right.
And so then I got kind of confused. Then I made another map at some other point, starting from the Hall of the Mountain King, which is like, once you get down this pit, that's like sort of the new, feels like a hub area. It's sort of central of all these different locations you can access. And I did that for a little bit. Then there's a point where you get to, there's an area called Bed Quilt. And that was a point where I kind of just started going, yeah, this is like too confusing and complicated. I don't feel like doing this anymore. I did also try to make a map of a particular maze. There are a few mazes in this game. And that... Yes. I just found very annoying to
Yes,
do.
those were the parts where I was like, okay, I like need to make a map to get through these, and I'm not doing it. I'm not dealing with these mazes at all. Now, um, yes, so let's see. What you said something and I was going to say something and I don't remember.
Mazes,
Whatever.
drawing mazes, complicated bed quilts.
Yes, so yeah, I mean I did get to all of these places um that you are mentioning so far. Uh so one of the things that I saw almost immediately in like the help or info or readme or something was that it said that the cave is non-Euclidean. So they were like, just because you enter a room to
Mm,
the north does not mean you enter from the south. And so
right.
even before I began, like my immediate thought was if I were going to make a map, I would not have done it as a real map the way that you were doing it. I would have done it as something like, here's a bubble. This is Mountain King Hall. Okay, here's this chamber. Draw a line there with a direction north, right? So I know if I go north from here, I get there. I know if I go south from here, I get that. And then just be like, it doesn't really matter if the directions map into each other because you already told me that this isn't going to make sense. And there were one or two areas, even outside of the weird twisty mazes, where I was just like, I don't think that these loops add up to the right direction. So there's some weird twists and turns going on in here. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
That is absolutely the correct way to do it, and just I am
mhm,
just too stupid to do that. I'm just like I can't. My brain is too wired to just think like, no, I went west. That's the room. It's west. Like I'm not. But and I definitely, as a result, there are some parts of my playthroughs where I literally was just stuck. Like I
yes,
forgot how to leave the 2 or 3 rooms I was in, and I spent
mhm,
15 minutes just trying every direction and eventually just quitting or reloading a save and being like, I give up. I don't
yeah.
know how I got here.
I think I only got to that point with the two like twisty passages mazes, and both of those, or at least one of those, has the issue that if you enter it, you don't. It's like you go down to enter it, and if you go up in the first room, you do not get out of it, and now you're stuck in it until you figure out. And I'm like, all right, fuck
Mm.
this. Like that was the one where it's just like if I accidentally stumble into this room, I'm fucked. I'm basically done. I'm not getting out.
What was
So,
crazy? Did you find the maze? There's the one maze that's I
mhm.
feel like I found first. It has a vending machine in it. I don't know if you found that.
I found that one second. I did find the vending machine by random chance at one point.
So that was the maze where, so this is like a famous, I mean, I think all the mazes have some variation of this, but amongst computer
Hmm.
nerds, the phrase maze of twisty little passages is one of the sort
Hmm.
of things that has stood the test of time from this game. And every room in this maze has some variation of that phrase. And uh, what I found was, so if you drop an item in a room,
Hmm.
you can loop back to it. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So it's not just like a random, there is some
Hmm.
logic here. You can kind of Hansel and Gretel it a little bit.
Hmm.
And then I started mapping it out, and actually I was actually writing down the different variations of twisty little
Hmm.
maze of passages,
Yes.
twisting little maze of passages,
Right.
and realizing that okay, like if I keep going just east, 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 it is consistent. I will loop
Hmm.
back to the start where the item is, and each room has the different phrase and is always in the same order.
Hmm.
So I'm like, so okay, so I was trying to map it out like that. Eventually I just gave up because it was just so much and I didn't know what I was doing or if I
Yeah.
was getting anywhere.
So I mean, I did look at this after the fact. So there's two of these near each other. One of them is the one that says it's like you're in a maze of twisty little passages all the same.
Right.
And every single room says that. And yeah, like if you drop items, which I did not want to do, then there's only like I don't know 10 rooms or something. Um, and I think you only go like north, south, east, and west or something like this. So you can figure them all out and you can map out the whole, or maybe you can go north. I don't know, but you can map them all out effectively. Um, But the person that I saw who was talking about the other one, the one you're in, you were in a twisty maze of passages all different or whatever, and
Hmm.
everyone is a slight variation on it. So that one you don't need to drop the items because I think the phrases are unique. But that one, the guy said there are 24 different rooms. In every room, you can go north, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest, up, or down. So 24 different rooms, all with 10 unique ways out. You basically cannot map it, right? You need to basically make a spreadsheet to figure out how to get through it, right? Like you can't like draw a map of it. It's not going to work.
Yeah, I did eventually figure out I wasn't going up or down. And I
Mhm.
think if you go up a bunch, you will eventually get out. I think. And then, but if you just keep, going northeast, southwest, you'll just be in there forever.
I did, yeah, I did
Um,
look up. Like I occasionally looked up like hints for this, but not very
yeah, I
many.
looked up a couple things.
One of the things that I looked up was basically just I have stumbled into one of these mazes. I don't want to be in here. Right. And so I know if you go into that maze and if you go into the twisty little passages all different, if you go down in the first room, you'll get out. And I was like, cool, that's one of the things I looked up because I was like, I went down into it, I went back up, and oh God, I'm lost. And I was like, this can't happen. This can't happen again.
Yeah, it's a little bit crazy. Let me if anyone's not watching the video and hasn't played this game, I
Hmm.
do think so the way that it begins, you start just in front of a building.
Hmm.
There's the forest around you. There's also a tower in the distance, which was the first example of it tells you there's a tower in the
Yeah.
distance. Couldn't look at it, couldn't
Yeah.
enter it, couldn't go to it, nothing.
Yeah.
It's just
Go to a tower. It doesn't know there's this freaking tower. Why the hell is that there?
I still don't know. I mean, I'll say it now. I did not successfully complete this game,
Yes. I
but
believe that tower was not in the original version. I think that is some
it's just
end
flavor.
game.
Oh,
Or
maybe
maybe
it.
it's some end. Yeah. Like you beat some fantasy thing and go, who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe it
I didn't
feels
look
like it
that
should.
far.
Yeah. Um, and what? So you go into this building. There's some stuff in there for you to take. There's a lamp, which you'll need. There's food, water,
Hmm.
and the set of keys. And it's really so nondescript. The only reason I knew that, so the actual goal of the game is there's treasures hidden in the cave. In the original one, there's only 5. I think in the updated one, there's 15. And your goal is to find the treasures, put them in the building, and you get points for each one. You can get a total score of 350, I think, if you do everything perfect. And
Hmm.
but it's when you go into the building, it's not like it doesn't even it's to say, oh, there's a
Hmm.
trophy case on the wall,
Right.
or oh,
Yeah.
there's spots for treasures. There's nothing.
This is one of the things I thought, like, because I knew there were treasures, because it says there's treasures in the cave. And I go into the cave and I'm collecting some of these treasures. I'm like, cool, I've got them. And then my inventory is full, right? I don't have enough inventory space to hold all the treasures. Okay, cool. This is good game design. It tells me I need to do something with these treasures. I'm not just supposed to have them and now I have them. What am I supposed to do? Where are they supposed to go? There is no indication of this in any way. I ended up I was like hoarding them in the Hall of the Mountain King at one point because I was like, that's a central location. If I ever figure out where to put them, I can ferry them there. Um, yeah, and I don't know where to put any of this stuff. At some point, I'm looking at my score and I'm like, it's pretty low, but I'm like, sure, I don't know. I'm probably just not that far in the game, right? So I had this site that was a list of hints that I like looked at in between playthroughs if I wanted to. And at one point I was like, I'm just gonna scroll down and see like, it says how do I do this? How do I do this? And you can click to see the hint. And so I was like, I want to see how many are left, right? To see how much of the game I have left. And one of them was I got all these treasures, but my score is low. And I was like, huh. Maybe my score should be higher than it is. And that was the one that said you have to bring them to the building. And I had the exact same thought you had. I was like, it is insane that it doesn't say like there's a display case in the building.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is not a problem, like, oh, I don't have the space to describe it to you. Like you could do that in one sentence, right? I don't want to tell the player everything. No, you don't have to. If you said there was a display case, they could figure it out, you know. this is not a text adventure problem. Like, I don't know what words you would use. This, like, if you were a dungeon master and you were doing D&D and you wanted your characters to bring the treasure up out of the dungeon and deliver it to a specific place outside of the dungeon, you would indicate that to them, right? If you didn't say, like maybe you would be like, there's a guy in merchant robes there. Oh, we go talk to him. Oh, you don't have anything he needs. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, you figure, like, you would be a bad dungeon master to just be like, what do we do with these treasures? I don't know, they're yours. Okay. Oh, you didn't know that you were supposed to bring them there? Like, come on, like, put any indication so that
Okay.
when you say you didn't know, you can be like, well, you were supposed to, you're just stupid.
Can I say something that's maybe going to make you mad?
Go for it.
So at the beginning of the game, they do tell you can type help or info for
Right.
info.
I did do that. Does it say in there?
In info, there is a line that says, to get full credit for a treasure, you must have left it safely in the building.
God damn it. All right, so it was fucking in info. Shit. I did look at those. Help even. I looked at help more, but
now listen, I don't fully blame you because it gives you this kind of wall of text, and if you just read it once, you might not even really fully internalize what they're telling you. And it still is bizarre that that's not within the game itself, but yes, it is in there, and I did find it, so I did know that. But
well, I did eventually come back for a new playthrough where I brought stuff back there, and that was good because I had been spending too much time getting lost in the twisty passages, so I went off a different way and I found more of the game that I hadn't seen. So
yeah. Well, here's the weird I do think the game is in some ways laid out well. If you get lost in the forest early on, I suppose that might just be frustrating. And I mean, there's no reason for the forest to even exist, except that this is a game that's really the whole point of this game was just for this guy to relive his cave adventures. And so he's like, well, there's a forest there. Like, that's where what is there. So that's why it's in the game. It's first and foremost, he made this as more of an experience or a tribute to his memories than really it was designed to be something playable. I think that the second guy, Don Woods, who modified it, added more of actual game stuff to it. But anyway, I do think it's sort of at least nice how once you get into the cave, at any rate, there's a relatively linear progression. There's stuff you pick up, and then there's a thing you got to get past. And then once you've done that, it really opens up and you can go in a lot of different directions. So it does sort of, not in a very efficient way, but it does kind of tutorialize you a little bit and help you get your bearings before unleashing you into the world. What was really the first?
It's interesting because I almost want to be like it's the opposite. Like, I felt like it was a lot easier to navigate once we were in the caves proper. Like, just, I think, all right, I mean, let's talk about this grate and finding this grate, because I don't know how easy it was for you, but when I was looking around, it's like, okay, there's a stream. I'm going to follow this stream. We're going to keep following the stream. We're going to go south or whatever it was, down, south, or down. And eventually you come to the end of the stream. It's going down to the slit in the rock. And I'm like, okay, cool. Can I like look in the slit with the lantern? Can I like go, okay, I don't see anything around here. All right, well, it says it keeps going down into like this rocky bed or whatever. Like, let's keep going down. All right, no, you can't go down the slit. No. Let's keep going south. No, you can't go down the slit. No. I want to go toward that rocky bed, right? Go toward the bed. Nope, doesn't work. At some point, I think this was where I quit and was like, how am I getting to the cave? And they were like, there's a grate. And I was like, I don't know where the grate is. When I came back, I eventually was like, go rock. And it was like, okay, cool, there's a grate. And I was like, oh, thanks. I was supposed to say go rock. I couldn't keep going in the same direction because when I kept going in the same direction, you thought I wanted to go into the slit. This is stupid. And then once you get in the cave, there's this weird puzzle that doesn't really make a lot of sense unless you read help, because there's a bird. It is scared of a rod that you pick up, and you need the bird. And in help, it says that the bird's scared of the rod. So cool, you can figure
Mm-hmm.
that out. But like,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
didn't read, but it's very weird that like that puzzle makes no sense unless you actively go seek out help within the game. Um, and
Mm-hmm.
up until you solve both of those puzzles, the progression is actually entirely linear. It's like literally you go one
Right.
direction, one direction, one direct. Like
Yeah.
there's not this nice ability to have like this very, very easy thing to solve, or this ability to say like, well, I can't quite figure that out, so I'll just wander around a bit and I'll find something new that I can figure out or is easier, right? You're just stuck on this like, what is this weird esoteric thing I am supposed to say to get to this point? And there's nothing else to do. There's literally nothing else to do. And it felt like a pretty big barrier to entry, which, if I was a 1970s computer nerd and this was the culture, like maybe I would love sitting there figuring it out, or maybe my friends would tell me, but I didn't think it was a great intro experience or tutorial experience.
I mean, it is literally a great intro.
Sure.
You cannot deny that it is a great
Right.
intro.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, in order, like the way you get into the cave is great.
right, yeah.
So I am looking back at my playthrough right now, my footage, and I got to the slit. This was like 10 minutes into my playthrough. I did wander in the forest a little bit. And also that's like 5 minutes of me reading the intro, the help and stuff. I was at the slit. I wrote slit. It said, you don't fit through. I said, okay. I then typed S to go south and it said, there's a grate here.
What the fuck? I swear I kept going south. Oh, fucking hell. I do think at some point I switched from going south to going like down because I was trying like downstream or whatever, and that's just the same as down for the game. And so that might have been it. I just switched to that and it just put me in the same direction, so that was just my standard. Fucking hell. I swore I tried south. I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you. Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe there's a bug.
No. I'm sure I just switched over. I mean, this is part of the problem with the guessing thing is that it's you can get. I mean, or at least for me, I can certainly get stuck in like. No, I swear I already tried all of these variants, so I need a new variant.
Right.
Or I don't know. Or like I'm supposed to do something else, but I'm stuck on what's the word I need to do this.
Now,
I don't know.
I do think everything you're saying is valid. I see where you're coming from. I guess I just thought I don't know. I appreciated that that it started linear because that way you don't get overwhelmed by there's a million places I can go. That is true. It's the whole thing where the bird is scared of the rod is like, huh? Okay, but I figured it out.
Yeah, it was in help, and also it was not so bad because you can pass the bird. So it was just like, yeah, okay, I can't get this bird. Fine, screw it. I'll keep exploring, and maybe I'll come back to that bird later.
But then I feel like, by the way, maybe there may be some spoilers in this episode if you don't want to be spoiled about puzzle solutions for Colossal Cave Adventure.
Right. I did kill that bird, by the way, one time.
What the fuck?
I was in there and I just typed like, I don't know, fight bird or something because I was trying to figure it out. And it was like, the bird is dead. And I was like, well, that wasn't what I meant to do. I guess it was.
Anyway, there's a one real puzzle early on. Like the first thing that I would say qualifies, I guess the rod and the bird is a puzzle, but because I just read the solution in the hint screen, I was like, I don't know. But then there's a snake you have to get past. And that was the first thing that I actually figured out on my own just through trial and error. You have to drop the bird and the bird attacks the snake.
Yeah, no, what's interesting is that was like barely even figured out for me. I was just like, well, there's this bird I can't figure out and I've got this rod and here's this snake and I can't pass it and I've explored I think basically everywhere I can. So either I can like use this rod on the snake, that doesn't seem to work. All right, must be the bird. So then once I figured out the bird, I was like, all right, what if I let the bird out? Free bird or whatever. Yep, that works. Cool. Did it.
Nice. Yeah, that's puzzles, baby. That's
Mhm.
puzzles.
It kind of makes sense, right? The snake is scared of the
Sure.
bird,
Sure. I mean, they don't
right?
really tell you. I was picturing like a little, like, I think they
Yeah.
call it a songbird, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, but like in
So,
like a mythical sense, right?
sure.
I get it.
Sure. I mean, it also, if the puzzle was reversed, if there was a bird and you had to unleash a snake, it would also make just as much sense.
Yes,
So,
that's
like,
true.
so if it makes sense from either side, then maybe it makes no sense at all, really. But it is what it is. Another thing that we haven't talked about that you will have already experienced by this point of the game is the magic words.
Hmm.
And this is the big one that I have seen references to in other games. And I don't know, maybe I had knew at some point where it came from, but I never really experienced it. And I was like, oh, that's the thing. That's the thing that they have in those
Hmm.
games, which is this magic word XYZZY. And in a certain room, if you type that, it'll teleport you back to the building. And there's another
Hmm.
room later on where you can type PLUGH, Florence Plue,
Right.
and we'll teleport you there as well. So that's another thing that I was like, that is. I don't know if that was. I don't know how to differentiate. It doesn't matter what's in the original versus the version we played because I just don't know.
Mhm.
But even still, it was only like a year later as an early text adventure thing. I thought that was pretty. I was very grateful that was in the game, that there's at least some
Mhm.
kind of shortcut you can take. And there were definitely parts when I was wandering around a lot, I got stuck, or I screwed something up. And once you know what you're doing, I was like, okay, it's actually going to be easier for me to just start a new game. And within
Mhm.
like 2 minutes, I can go in quick, pick up drop rod, pick up bird snake, get this, get that, up, back to the building. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm where I was, right?
Yes, no, it there were times where it just absolutely it's easier to restart. Now I will say the magic words I did not know what they did. So like the first time I was like, "Oh cool, it teleports me there and then it teleports me back." So I was like, maybe it just teleports you to the building and then back to the room you were in, and it didn't do that in the next room and I was like, "Is
Mm.
it just from that room? I don't know. Not sure." It also took me a couple of restarts to realize I could just literally like I did not have to be all like uh, go to the stream, go south, go to whatever, go to the rock, open the like, oh, I could literally teleport there. I don't have to teleport out and back. I could be teleporting every time I start the game. So I did waste some of my time there, but even that is barely any time. Um,
Hmm.
it's also funny, and maybe this is just I'm stupider than you. The second magic word, it also didn't occur to me that it did the exact same thing. I was just like, oh, here's some, because the first one was like written on the, here I think there was like a voice whispering to you, like Plu or whatever. And so I was
Yeah.
like, maybe I'm supposed to say that. Oh, there's a shadowy guy. I'll say Plu to him. Oh, there's a clam. Maybe I'll say Plu to it. Uh, and only at some point later I was in that room and I was like, let's try saying Plu back to the voice. Oh, I see. I get it. Okay, cool. That makes sense.
That might just be an example of you giving the game more credit or assuming
Right.
there's
It
more
could be.
going on. Or I'm like, oh, it's a magic word. I bet it does the same thing. Or I
I
just
mean, I
tried
didn't
it.
even, it wasn't even clear to me that it was a magic word. I don't know. As
Mm,
opposed to just like some shadowy figure said it. Maybe
yeah.
somebody wants to hear it. Could just be a word.
Now, how about that shadowy figure? Did you spend a lot of time in that room, and did you ever figure out what it was?
Nope, never figured out what it was.
I only know because I looked it up at some point. So there's a room where you go and it says you look across a pit through a window and there's a shadowy
Mhm.
figure that seems to be trying to get your attention. And I spent plenty of time trying to figure out what to do here. One of the big verbs that is not relevant
Mhm.
in this game is talk or
Yeah, I tried a
speak.
lot of variants of that.
Yes, anything like that. Also, I found it very strange no give. You can
Yeah,
throw an
right?
item sometimes to someone.
Yeah, God. Oh, I mean, this was a funny thing. There's dwarves that attack you, and
Yeah.
at some point you get an axe, And so I was like, all right, this dwarf is attacking me. I have an axe, and I was like, fight dwarf. And the game says, with what? Your bare hands? And I was like, with the axe! With the fucking axe! I have an axe! I had to figure out that you can throw, because the dwarf throws the axe at you, so you can throw the axe at the dwarf, but I was pissed. Anyway, what about this shadowy figure?
Those dwarves did annoy me for a long time after I was like trying to figure out like what am I supposed to, and because they will follow you around and throw knives at you. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, oh, is it mad because I took the axe? Like maybe I need to not take it. But then they still were attacking me, and finally I'm like, oh, you can kill them. Okay, whatever. I believe you can actually. There's a finite number of them, and you actually do need to kill them all to like get the best score. Okay, so yeah, this room where the shadowy figure is, it turns out is actually called Mirror Canyon. And if you look around in another area, I don't know if you found it, there you can actually find the same room from the other side. Which tells you basically the same thing.
Ah, okay, yes, because I did not get to the room from the other side, but it was clear that you could get there somehow.
Yeah, so it is literally just your reflection waving at you, and it is literally just a complete red herring. There's nothing to do there.
That's pretty good. I like that. That's good, though. That's world building. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, you really have to contextualize this game of that there was nothing even remotely resembling this. I believe there was one other game, I think it was called Wander, but it was like very, very... nobody knew about this other game. It didn't go anywhere. But really, there was basically nothing like this game at the time. And he also partially made this just to amuse his two kids and all this. So stuff like that makes more sense in context of, I don't know, what can we throw in here? And it's like playing D&D, and there's this room where you can't do anything. If you're treating this like a modern game where things should be there for a reason. You may come away unhappy.
There for a reason. Like that is a fun little aside. It adds some. Yeah, I mean, yes, it adds some environment, and it is a puzzle to be solved. Like the solution is it's nothing, but like it's not like it's there. If it was there for no reason, it would be like there is a shadow. It's waving at you. You can't do anything with it. You can't figure out anything with it. You can't interact. Here, you can figure out what it is. But
I guess you do have to. I don't know how obvious. I don't know if I would have figured it out even finding it from the other side. Maybe I would have. But it doesn't say like, oh, it's your reflection. Like you still have to actually put the pieces together.
Yeah. But you would go there and be like, it's on the other side now. Maybe you'd go back to the first room, and now it's on the other side. And at some point you'd be like, oh, I'm stupid. Right. I can see the payoff.
So let me tell you just like what I did, like how far I got and what I saw. And then I want to hear if you also saw these things or maybe even things I didn't see.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, I did not get all that far. I did not get much farther than what we've talked about.
Okay, but you found bed quilts.
I did find so here's the problem. I found bed quilt, but only after I had spent a lot of time getting lost in the other twisty bullshit. So I walked into bed quilt, and my immediate thought was, fuck this, I'm not exploring this place. I'm done with these twisty passages. So I did not really explore bed quilt.
Well, the thing in bed quilt, so there's this room in the game that I don't even know why they call it bed quilt. Do they explain it? I don't remember it. I think it might be, some of it is very much based on it's the Mammoth Caves that William Crowther went to. And apparently some of these areas are very faithful to the actual layout of that cave. So that might be part of it. But in bed quilt, it actually just tells you, if you want to leave, I think you go east or west. If you want to stay here, if you want to try like go somewhere random or something, you can go north, south, east, west, maybe up or down as well. Yeah, I believe up or down. And I don't really know if there's a logic to it, but basically if you press north, for instance, it'll just say, yeah, you're in bed quilt again. And so I would just like press north like 10 times and eventually it'd be like, hey, you found this place. So it wasn't a maze really, bed quilt. It was just, you just have to like press a direction 6 times and then you're somewhere new.
Yeah. If I had found this before the twisty passages, I definitely would have explored it with more interest. But here I was just like, oh, I can leave. I'm out. I'm not. I'm done with these.
All right, so maybe you missed some of the. I feel like there is
Yeah.
some more. I feel like there's sort of milestones or like mile markers of this game. Like the first one is okay, getting into the Great. The second one is getting to the Hall of the Mountain King past the snake, and maybe the third one is bed quilt, like opening up a new selection of areas to explore.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and I probably would have gone to bed quilt before I went back to those other, because those mazes, I was pretty sure it was like, oh, I think this one has the vending machine that I stumbled on. The other one, like there was a pirate in it, so I was like, this
I
is
didn't
where
find
the
the
pirate
pirate.
lives.
I didn't actually see the pirate.
He steals shit from you. If you have treasures on you, he like pops up and is like, I'll take your treasure, and then he retreats into the maze. And then you have to go find his treasure chest in the maze to get it back, I guess. I don't know.
Sounds like an asshole. So here's what I did find past or around bed quilt. First, I found a plant that wanted water. And of course,
you do start with water.
Of course, this was my second or third playthrough. I did not take the water with me because I was like, my inventory's low and I have never used this water, so I'm not taking it. Finally, I find this plant. It wants water, and I'm like, fuck. I left. I tried so hard. I didn't look it up. I never again, after I took the water, could find this plant. I'm like, I swear it's around here somewhere from bed quilt. Couldn't find it.
That's funny.
I don't know what happens with this plant. I was pissed off. Other stuff around there. There is some more treasures you can find. There's a room called the, quote, Oriental Room, which has a Ming vase in it, or vase, if you'd prefer. Did you find this room?
I did not, but this all sounds totally fine and not problematic at all.
Right. And this was fun. So it tells you like, oh, it's a fragile vase. I'm like, oh, this. Another problem is that once I'm in bed quilt, I couldn't remember how to consistently get back to the hall. So I was like, it was very hard for me to leave treasures in the building that I was finding down there. So I was also annoyed about that.
Like after you left bed quilt and we're back in the complicated corridor? Or?
Yeah, and like Swiss cheese room and all that shit. I was just like, it was hard for me.
Yeah, I did not want to have to worry about potentially getting out of bed quilt itself, but like I did figure out that area, how to navigate that. So.
See, two heads are better than one.
Yeah, that's right. We could have used a second. Could have used you being like, no, we're exploring bed quilt, damn it.
Right. So anyway, the vase was pretty funny because at one point I needed to go somewhere and I had to drop my inventory. So I wrote drop vase and it says the vase shatters into pieces.
That's funny. That's good.
It was funny, but also I was pissed off.
That's good.
There is a troll guarding a bridge at one point, and you have to give him a treasure to cross the bridge. I don't know if there's another way to get past him. You can't attack him. And I also don't know what's past the bridge because I believe there's a locked door and I didn't have my keys.
Okay. So there is one, because I did see some of these things when I was just looking at like, okay, so I have this hints page open and, it basically, I'm not seeing the actual answers, but it says like, oh, hey, the vase just broke. Or how do I deal with the bear? I'm at the volcano, but what is it for? And I'm like, all right, I'm seeing all this shit, but I don't know what it is. So fine. Now, one of these says, how do you take care of the dragon? Did you find a dragon?
I did find the dragon late in one of my playthroughs.
Did you figure out how to beat it? Because I read this hint and it is fucking hilarious to me.
No, I looked at it and it was like I'd already played a lot and I just said, I don't think I'm beating this dragon.
Would you like to know how to beat this dragon?
Is it? It sounds like maybe it's the kind of thing that I would never figure out on my own. Is that true?
I think you could if you were really frustrated and not taking it seriously.
Okay, is it something? What is it? Just some pun or something? What do you do? Tell
Okay,
me.
so if you do, so you know how earlier I was like fight dwarf and it was like with what, your bare hands, and I'm like with the fucking axe.
Right.
So you say like kill dragon or whatever, And it says,
Right.
with what, your bare hands? And you say, yes.
Holy shit. I thought I did say attack dragon, and it just said like you're not getting past this or something. Like it was like I don't think that's gonna work.
Maybe you have to say kill specifically. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
was
don't
sad
know.
I never found the dragon because if I had actually seen it before I read this hint, I would have been so pissed off reading it.
It actually
Are you
isn't that hard to
serious?
find. It's in when you first leave
Mm-hmm.
the Hall of the Mountain King to like the canyon or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like right around there. It's just in a direction that I like never thought to go from there before.
Damn. All right. So I somehow just wandered past it.
I know it is sitting on some like a Persian rug, which is one of the treasures.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to find the dragon in my playthrough, but I don't see it. Anyway, the bear, you would have liked the bear because it says ahead is a barren room, Barren. And then you go in and it says there is a bear in room.
That's really good.
And
I love that.
If you try to attack it, it says you're gonna try to attack this like your bare hands against his bare hands. You know, pretty good.
I bet the answer to that one's some kind of pun. That one I don't want to look up
That
just in case I ever have to play again.
I didn't get past it, but I'm pretty sure I know the solution. It required an item I didn't have on me, I think. Anyway, he has a golden chain he's attached to the wall, which I think you're supposed to get. That's one of the treasures. Anyway. The craziest thing that I found is wandering from somewhere near where this troll was. There's a area where it'll keep saying, oh, you hear a rumbling noise and the walls are very warm. And if you keep following this direction, you'll eventually come across a volcano. And this room is insane because, most rooms are like a sentence or three of description. The volcano gives you just a wall of text. So much text. This one I do want to try to now find. Okay, here we go. You are on the edge of a breathtaking view. Far below you is an active volcano from which gouts of molten lava come surging out, cascading back down into the depths. The glowing rock fills the farthest reaches of the cavern with a blood-red glare, giving everything an eerie, macabre appearance. The air is filled with flickering sparks of ash and a heavy smell of brimstone. The walls are hot to the touch, and the thundering of the volcano drowns out all other sounds. It describes it as hellish, all this stuff. I mean, that's like half of it. It says, to one side is a deep gorge filled with a bizarre chaos of tortured rock, which seems to have been crafted by the devil himself. It's insane. Compared to everything else in the game, this room is insane, and I could not figure out a single fucking thing to do here. It doesn't seem like there's anything you can interact with. The river, the rocks, the volcano, the geysers. I just had to leave. I have no idea what it's for. I'm like, it has to be for something, right? It's so crazy. What is this room? I don't know the answer. But anyway, that was... Oh, I also found a clam that I didn't know how to open.
Yep, I found that clam too. I tried a lot of stuff with that clam, but it didn't work.
There was also one room that was called Wit's End with 2 T's. Thought that was kind of funny. It said you're at Wit's End.
Yeah, there's some guy called Wit.
Yeah, there was like a Wit's construction company or something.
Yeah.
So there's things to discover in this game. I did not discover them. I believe the best score that I got was like, I was pretty happy. I went over 100. I got like 105.
Oh, really? I got 107, and I didn't even go into bed quilt.
What the fuck? Maybe, I wonder if you just took treasures back better than I did.
That could be. Also, you do, I think, lose points for dying and for using help. So, like, if you don't use help on your later playthroughs, you get more points. So if you were clicking that every time...
Yes, this game, they actually take away points just for reading the help screen.
Yes.
which is pretty funny. Yeah, I found a bunch of treasures that, like I said, the Ming vase, there was an emerald I found in this little hole. I found some spices that I think were a treasure. They're like rare spices in this cave, but so many of these things I then just couldn't remember how to get back to the building to drop them off, and then I would get stuck or die. So I was like, whatever. So I actually
you
think
don't even have to get to the Mountain King. All you have to do is get to Plu.
I know. Well, Plu is through the Mountain King. How do you get to Plu without going through that?
No, but Mountain King is basically at Plu. Like you go north from Mountain King, and now you're at Plu, and then you have to head like what west down or something, and then something like this.
I couldn't get to Mountain King. I didn't remember how to get back there.
But you don't have to. That's only most of the way to Mountain King. You don't.
Well, look. Clearly, I needed help on this aspect of the game. But in spite of how confused I was and how disorienting the game can be, especially when you're not used to playing text adventures and you're not, even if you are mapping it out, it can be disorienting. I do think one of the things that's so cool about text adventures, and it is still present in this game, is that you do develop a mental map in your head, and it has kind of a cool power, I think, that by the end of the game, it sounds silly, but I guess you could say the same thing about just reading a book or like a really good book, but it feels like I have been to a place. I sort of have this feeling in my head like I've experienced these locations. I have an idea of, oh yeah, I know where Bedquilt is. It's like you kind of go like north southwestish, and then you like go down this thing, and then there you are. And in my mind, there's a picture of what that looks like, even though in this game there's basically no description whatsoever. And maybe that's not true for everybody. Maybe you have to put in some of that work yourself. I mean, you definitely do. But I don't know. I think that's something that's part of what makes text adventures so intriguing to me. I don't know how much of that did you experience?
Yeah, I mean, I do feel you. Like, I was creating a mental map of this place. Obviously, I didn't make a physical one. And there is something to be said for, like, okay, there's some kind of, like, I know this goes here, and I know that goes there. I don't know. I think that there are probably text adventures that do that better. I also do think that, had I been in a less stressful week and I had more time to just be like, okay, I'm just going to sit with this. I have a little bit more motivation to map this out or to come back to this a couple times. I would have liked to have gotten farther. Like some of these places I think would have been cool. Getting stuck in the twisty mazes very early was also not great because that also kind of put me off of like, oh my God, like I just, I wish I had found those later and not, immediately after the Mountain King. I just spent a lot of time trying to avoid those by going off west when I should have just been going off north or whatever. And being like, there's barely any passages I can see before I get stuck and they don't have much descriptions. But yes, I think once I was in the more interesting areas, I did get some of that.
Yeah, there's a section of this game, or not a section, but a period of time playing this game. You go through highs and lows. There's lulls, and then there's exciting parts, which is when you're actually finding things that are new. And then there's parts when you're just going in circles, losing your mind. And I'm certain other text adventures improved on it because how could they not? It's basically the first one.
Yeah, no, I do think that some of that is just a balance. Like, I think it's good to have those areas where you are going in circles, losing your mind. It's just, it did feel like for me, especially, like, it took me, like, there was a very long portion of the game where I was like, the balance of going around in nondescript circles, losing my mind to seeing somewhere new is so off. And it's especially off for it being so early in the game. Like, early in the game, you want to give people more cool stuff, and then the really like smack your head against it puzzles would probably come later. And this is an early game. You're not necessarily thinking about development in those terms, but I do think that that's there. And it didn't have to work out that way, right? Like I could have randomly just done a different thing and been fine.
Right. Yeah. You might have just gone south and found that great.
Right. I might have just gone south and found that great. I might have just gone north and started finding bedquilt rather than west and finding the twisty passages. I don't know.
But it's clear that, because I found that one maze very early on, and also got annoyed. But it's clear that William Crowther just wasn't the idea of trying to, onboard you to more complicated puzzles. That just was not the methodology of this game. It's he wants it to be true to a cave. It's like, who knows what you're going to find. This room might be useless. This room might be important. This room might be, you get lost. That's what it's like when you're caving. And you also, of course, at the time, if you were somehow lucky enough to have a computer, you didn't really have any other options, Like if you wanted to have fun on your computer, just the idea that you could go in a place and try to do a thing was mind-blowing. Right?
Yeah, I'm a nerd and I love my computer, and what can I do on it? Not much.
You ever watch the movie Big?
Yeah, a while
Tom
ago.
Hanks. Well, in Tom Hanks's Big, when he's a kid, he is playing a computer game, which I don't think is real, but it's a adventure game. It actually has some kind of primitive graphics in it. I wish I could remember. I don't know. I'm trying to look up if there's like an actual name for this game or not. But it's a similar thing where he has some kind of a staff, and it was like a wizard he has to fight, and he's like, kill wizard, and like nothing's working. I'm trying to figure that out with the, if I type in video game, it was created just for the movie.
Good, I'm glad that we found that out.
It's not real. Well, I just googled big video game and it was
This all sounds very relevant to the point you're making.
It's relevant because I just remember seeing this as a kid and really thinking it looked like the greatest video game ever. because not even understanding what a text adventure even was. Not knowing that this thing was like a 20 years out of date piece of shit. But the idea that there could be a game where literally you could type anything you wanted and you weren't confined by the rules of the game. Now, of course, I didn't understand that you still were confined and there's only like 3 things you can actually type. But in my head, on paper, the idea of a game where you can just type anything you want and you might get a response, that still has a kind of magic for me.
Yeah.
And
in a more advanced, like modern text adventure where there's more space for the game, that sort of thing does, from my memory, add quite a bit when like there are commands that do nothing just to show that they're aware that you can, it's like I can type anything. So I've got there's 100 words you could type that'll give you different unique responses that basically say you can't do that, but in a way that makes it clear that the game knows what you're trying to do. And that makes it feel like you can type anything.
Yeah. There's different approaches in a modern version of this, where one is you just try to program as many verbs as you think they might come up with. And the other, which if you actually can take the time to do that, probably feels cooler as an end result, but it's just, I think, so much easier to just say use.
I do think that for the purposes of making it, it's probably better to do that. But there is some joy in just I don't know, if the verb hunt is part of the experience, sometimes part of the joy is just typing in things that don't work. Where you're just sitting there and you're just like, fight dwarf, feed dwarf, eat dwarf, fuck dwarf, right? And it's and you're just doing this, and at some point, and it's great when you're just doing this and you're expecting it to say nope, 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 and then it gives you some response that's like, wait, what the fuck? How did you know that somebody was going to type that in?
Right, yeah. Simulating a dungeon master, essentially.
The dwarf is not into you like that.
I also found a velvet pillow, which it is unclear to me if I don't actually know if this is a treasure or just an item. Probably it's a treasure, but I thought it was funny that you can type throw pillow.
That's funny. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I don't think the game didn't really acknowledge it. That is another thing. The game does have a sense of humor, as we've kind of established, and I think that's part of what. I mean, this game, we're not going to play many games where an entire genre was invented from them. To the sense that I don't know if I really realized the term adventure game is because this game is called Adventure. That's where that comes from. They're like, what kind of games should we? Let's make sort of like adventure games.
Yeah, like that game.
It's not just because you're on an adventure. It's because that's what this was called. That genre could have easily just ended up being called cave games or something. It's just happenstance. Where was I going with this? I don't know. And the humor, is a part of that where many adventure games going forward would be comedic. Most of them are, and I think probably that comes from this. And I think also a lot of that comes from being a dork who's into Dungeons and Dragons and Monty Python.
Yes, that dork thing does help, but I also think that can help because, it can be frustrating being like, I know what I need to do, but I can't find the words for it. And like 100% you are, or at least I am, writing in random shit that I know won't work, just to kind of like let off steam. And that feels more in line with the game if the game is also doing silly stuff, even if it doesn't do it in response to your silly shit, right? Like it's like, yeah, okay, it's fine for me to be a little bit stupid here because the game's being kind of stupid.
That's right. That's right. It's fine for us to be stupid.
Yeah, no problems.
I actually really think if and when we ever start video game streaming, I would love to play this game with you. I actually think that maybe the best, maybe not the best, but a way that would be really fun to play this is with another person. I think when you're by yourself, a lot of times it feels too cumbersome to like, oh, I got to take notes or draw a map. I don't really want to do that shit. I'm just trying to play a video game right now. But if you had another person who you could talk to and say, you're the map guy. Try to map it out and help me figure out where to go. And if you're stuck on a puzzle, the other person can say, oh, have you tried this item? Oh, I didn't think about that. Or, they'll remember, wait, wasn't there this one room? What if we tried to get back there? How do I get back there? I don't know. Let me check out the map. I feel like this would be a really fun game to play collaboratively.
Yeah, I think that's probably true for a lot of text adventures.
Yeah, and it can be the case with, point and click adventure games too, with visuals. Anything that has puzzles like that can be more fun to toss back and forth, especially when they're really tricky.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the problem with doing a game like this in a week on a time crunch when there's shit happening. Is you do have this kind of point where it's like these are better if you have somewhere to bounce ideas off of. So either that's another person, which, I'm playing it on my own, or that's just time. That's just like, I just need to put it down for a day or two and come back. Yeah. So like, there's only so far you get, but.
There's only so far you get. What do you think? Are we ready to give this game our IGN ratings?
Sure, we can give it our IGN ratings.
I love that you always have to go first.
I know.
No pressure on me. I get to react to you. I get to think about what you're going to say, what I'm going to say. It's much easier.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I wish I was going second. Every time I wish I go second on this.
But you're the noob. You have to be unblemished, by my opinion.
I have to be unblemished. You're right. So this game, there were definitely a lot of frustrations with it. I think there are a lot of quality of life issues as far as like text adventures go. I can forgive those in an abstract sense from like the sense of like that's because this is an early game and we just didn't do any of this before. But like they did hinder my ability to enjoy it. again, if I was a nerd in the 70s, I'd never seen anything like this before. I knew this was at the limit of the capabilities. That's one thing. But for my experience now, I do have to factor a lot of that stuff in. There was a decent amount of frustration. Maybe it would have been better had I explored more in Bedquilt or got farther. Um, I feel like this game has the potential to be a lot more enjoyable for me than it was, and I do still have to give it credit for like the bits of it that were fun and interesting, but I don't think I can rate it super highly. I think there was still enough like, oh my god, this stupid fucking game for me. I didn't enjoy it as much as I remember enjoying Thy Dungeon Man. And, right, not that I remember much of that. Um, I'm gonna give it a better score than Pac-Man for sure.
Wow.
I think it is more fun than Pac-Man, but this is not a Tetris. No way is this a Tetris. So let's give this one a. I'm gonna give this one a 5.6.
A 5.6. All right. Wow. What a score.
Thank you.
I see. I did think that at least this game might be a nice break for you because this is one that definitively does not require any reaction time. Only game we've played so far where that is true.
Yes. No, it's honestly just a schedule thing. Like, cause that is a huge advantage of this, but what this game is not is a game that you can just kind of be like, fuck, I'm just going to sit down and play this for 20 minutes mindlessly and not fucking think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. You got to be into it.
Yeah. Which this just wasn't the time for that.
I am sort of mixed on this game. I want to say that I really like it, but I also think some aspect of that may be Stockholm syndrome. Like, unironically, I think playing it for a long time, I sort of become accustomed to the bumps and the things that are less refined, and they start to become part of what I enjoy about it in a way. But are they actually good, or am I just used to them and enjoying the charms of those things? And I think it's a mix of both. Certainly, this is a game that they improved upon this formula later on. The verbs can be frustrating. The fact that it's very not very intuitive not only does it not hold your hand. I mean, there's parts usually I don't like when a game holds my hand, but there's some parts in this game where maybe they should have given you a hand. Like, you should have a hand.
Yeah,
whether or not
I'm not asking for a hand. I'm asking for a hand hold, right? Just somewhere where it's obvious my hand is supposed to go.
Yeah, there's certainly areas like that where it's just, and again, I can justify it by saying, oh, but sort of like Zelda, the joy of coming back to it a week later and I figured it out finally, or oh, my friend told me go to this room. This is when you solve the puzzle, you're happy because you solved the puzzle. But when you spend 4 hours not understanding the stupid puzzle because it's obscure and makes no sense, you're not happy. And obviously, I'm giving it some credit for, like you said, for being so early, but it certainly isn't a perfect game, even though I like it. I think I'm gonna give it a. You know what? I'm gonna mirror your score. I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Okay. Like in the Mirror Canyon.
That's right. Our two
Oh.
scores are looking across each other from the Mirror Canyon, trying to get the other's attention.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I think that's nice. Yeah. So again, like I did enjoy this game, but it's obviously very dated. You do have to be in a mindset to play it.
Mhm.
You have to be willing to put in some work.
Yeah. I can imagine when I was like 15 or 16, I might have like actually really enjoyed mapping out all those twisty little passageways.
Like I said,
in a way that I don't have the
I think I would really enjoy that now with someone else. I think I just need the encouragement of another person. because there's board games like that where you have to
Uh-huh.
take notes that I think are much more fun with other people.
I see. Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's
That's
fair.
maybe like a personal thing where when I'm by myself, I'm like, I don't know, fucking, it's a map. Who cares? Versus
I,
we're in this together. Like as if
yeah,
you were really caving in real life. Isn't it like probably more fun if you're with someone else?
that's probably true. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that is true for the passageway, like general passageways, but the actual like, okay, there's 24 different rooms and they all have slightly different descriptions, so I need a like signifier for each one, and then I need to map out which direction goes to which other one for each. I feel like maybe you would enjoy that, but I think you definitely wouldn't enjoy that with me. I think I would probably be taking a very bare bones, like, okay, each of these needs some kind of like variable signifier so that I can,
Oh Lord.
and then I need to like list out, okay, 10 directions. This goes here, here, here. I need pointers on all of these, because like you're not going to be able to physically draw it out. I think that's the sort of thing I could have really enjoyed at a certain point in my life, and right now I'm just like, maybe I could enjoy it, but I could enjoy so many other things too that aren't that.
If you ever say variable signifier again, the podcast is over.
Yeah, that's fair. That
That's your
doesn't
magic word
that
to
only
end the
really
show.
it barely means anything. I was just trying to find a word.
Yeah, don't ever say it ever again.
Yeah. A word was kind of a placeholder for the idea that I had, and in a
Shut
way
the
you could
fuck
call it
up.
a
Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Now, Cave Adventure, Colossal, you might call it.
Mhm.
It is a bit confusing. But it had a big impact on the video game world. It is certainly important. I mean, part of the reason maybe I cut it some more slack too is adventure games are one of, if not my favorite genre of video games, and they just wouldn't exist without this. So
Mhm.
I need to put this on a pedestal to some extent. I know last week I said, I'm going to really find all the reviews for the games from now on for us to read on the show.
Mhm, mhm.
Look, it was 1977. People weren't really publishing reviews of text adventure games. There wasn't really a market for that.
Right.
So
Or you didn't go to some old school fucking ARPANET, I don't know, forum style thing. They didn't have those back then, but there wasn't some nerds talking about it and you found the text logs.
the best thing I could find, the oldest thing I could find was a review someone shared in some magazine. I think it might have been an online magazine from 1996. That's the oldest review I could find of this game. So even then, it was still like a nostalgia piece.
Mhm.
I don't know if you need me to read this review.
I don't care.
It's
Whatever
kind of
you want to
long.
do.
I don't know. I don't think they said anything that's really that interesting
Okay.
that we didn't say already.
Maybe this is just a bad segment.
Yeah, maybe it is. Oh, we didn't talk about the box art either. I don't even know if there is any.
Yeah, at the
I don't
very
think there
top
is
of the
any.
episode, I was like, I'm pretty sure there isn't. I'm just not even going to bother. But
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. But still, we have to tip our hats to this game. And also, in terms of continuing on, there was a 3D version of this game made like in 2015 or something by Roberta Williams, who's a big adventure game person, which I believe was received very poorly. But there is a 3D remake of this, like with actual graphics. Which I don't know. That's something interesting.
Weird.
Maybe we can explore at some point.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know if that actually would help the game any or not.
I mean, I'm sure it has other. I don't know. I don't know.
Like, yeah, because like it's because it could, but like it definitely was not built to have graphics. So it feels like
Right.
you would need to change it a bit for them to. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. The 1980 Atari game Adventure, which we
is not
are
this game.
is not this game. We are going to play it at some point. It was originally conceived as a graphical adaptation of Colossal Cave Adventure.
Mm.
So we're going to see exactly how that worked out and how closely it adheres to this game. We're not playing it next week, but at some point we're going to play that. So that'll be interesting. I actually did not know before that they had a connection. Wikipedia also says Carmen Sandiego was inspired by this game. So
I mean, sure.
If
your game is primarily running on like text in some way, then it's inspired by this game, sure.
Rogue, which we're going to get to, that's a big one.
Now, the really interesting thing is that, like, I mean, to me, this is clearly inspired in some part by D&D, right? And I think that's canon. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, also, all of these games you can say are in the direct lineage of Lord of the Rings.
Yes, and in fact...
Carmen Sandiego, that's just Tolkien.
Don Woods, the guy who made all the edits, most of what he added was the fantasy stuff, and I believe he explicitly said because he was a Tolkien fan, obviously.
Right.
Yeah, the original game, the original version that Crowther made was you just walked around a fucking cave. Like there was no dragon, dwarves. I don't think there was a pirate. I don't know what you just went down there and were like, hey, there's a treasure, and then you leave.
you do all the cool stuff with the making the mental map that you did, but without the dwarves.
Right. Anyway, we got a couple of emails this week.
Oh, hell yeah. We keep getting them.
They don't stop.
It rules.
Let's read one here from John W. Wick? I felt the need to give him an initial because I feel like there may be more than one John.
Oh, so it doesn't actually say W.
Well, that is the first initial of their actual last name, but I don't want to say their full name.
So it is John Wick then.
Might be.
I think I know who it is. Yeah. Okay.
I won't say. It does open with, I'm thinking I'm back. So that's maybe a giveaway. John writes, "What's good, games boys?" John writing
figure something out.
John writing in, also following, by the way, that's with an H. Important to note. John with an H.
Mm-hmm.
Also following from your previous show and enjoying your new one. This may end up being a longer email than any of us want it to be, but I'll try to keep concise my thoughts and memories. I'm the same range of millennial as you two, 88 here. Uh-oh, Nazi dog whistle. And like Jonathan, I also grew up with video games as a major part of my media landscape. I was introduced to the NES before I was really forming concrete memories because as an infant, I'd be left at my neighbor's house for daycare during the workday. The neighbor's kid was 10 years older than me, and he owned the NES and SNES. Some of my earliest memories are of my dumb 2-year-old self sitting in front of their big CRT and watching him play the first dungeon in Zelda, fighting Keese and Gels, and of being told I was too young to play every time I asked. When they finally let me get my hands on the controller, and more excitingly, that badass NES Zapper, I was so excited to play Zelda, Mario, and Duck Hunt on my own that I guess I just never stopped. Zelda 1 is still my favorite game in the series. And while I recognize the bias that comes with nostalgia, I feel that the freedom of gameplay in the first game would become more restrained with every successive Zelda game until Breath of the Wild finally offered a new direction for those original ideas 30-odd years later. We're about 1/4 of the way through the email now. We're going to keep going. Sometimes I'll replay a game I like by throwing in some arbitrary challenge conditions, and most Zelda games are casually conducive to this playstyle, not using certain items, skipping all the heart pieces, that sort of thing. I love that you can skip the sword in Zelda 1 almost completely, since you don't need to actually grab it until the final dungeon. It's a little more difficult to skip all the heart containers, because when you kill the first dungeon's boss, Aquamentus, the container spawns on his tile surrounded by blocks. If you want to skip this one, you have to drop a bomb on his head and take damage to get behind the dragon before the explosion kills him. The heart container will spawn behind you, and now you can go on your merry way. 3 heart, no sword is pretty tough until you get the magic wand, because you're largely reliant on bombs to kill enemies. But Zelda 1 has a trick to how enemies drop items. Every 10th enemy you kill will drop an item or some rupees. If you kill that 10th enemy with a bomb, then the item it drops will be more bombs. That might ultimately sound like a complicated way to just play Bomberman in Hyrule, but this freedom of play within the world of such a highly polished action-adventure game is what keeps me coming back to the Zelda series game after game.
So this is some fucking nerd shit.
Yeah, this is the true crazy Zelda player thing, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it did occur to me that, like, yes, I know this, that you go into this cave. I know about the, like, dangerous to what, blah, blah, blah. I know this is the first thing you do. It says in the manual this is the first thing you do. It did occur to me while playing that there was nothing stopping me from just not doing that. I didn't really think about the consequences of that action, because why would I not do it? But that is a point.
It would have been hilarious if you came on the show and were like, this game fucking sucks, and you just never figured out to get the sword.
That would have been great. Oh, I should have trolled you with that.
Yeah, you should have. Why is this game so hard? It's impossible to kill these enemies. Yeah, I am not someone who, I really have almost no desire to do challenge stuff like this, but I respect the hustle.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, if I knew this game inside out and I loved it, that I would do that sort of thing.
Right.
Like,
this is what you do.
That's the sort of thing I could do with, like, Pokemon.
Right.
Except Pokemon is just, like, easy to start with. So it doesn't take very much knowledge to start doing challenges.
All right. John continues. In regards to the conversation about rewatching one's own Tetris gameplay a few episodes ago, I always find it both frustrating and fascinating how cognition and motor capability can get fractured under video game-induced stress. I enjoy playing fighting games, and a key part of improving your competitive gameplay is rewatching your own matches. Spending all that time analyzing every gameplay mistake you made can leave you feeling pretty humbled. Hearing that Will, the secret rhythm game addict, was going back and looking at his Tetris replays made me wonder if he might actually have a calling in the fighting game genre. Fighting games and rhythm games have a lot of overlap when it comes to timing and execution. Whether it's something as old school as Ryu's Wake Up Dragon Punch in Super Turbo, where you can piano your punches to extend the input window. Don't know what that means. Or whether it's steadily linking Zero's lightning loops in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. A good sense of rhythm can help transform button mashing into button pressing. What do you think? Do you think you're a secret fighting game champ?
Somehow I doubt it. I imagine.
Maybe?
I mean, here's the real problem with fighting games is that even though I'm sure executing your own crap, like, can be done with a good sense of rhythm and muscle memory, you have to do it in reaction to what your opponent is doing, so you need good reaction time. And I gotta tell you, you don't need good reaction time to play a rhythm game. Like, you just don't. You can get over most reaction time hurdles with better pattern recognition, where you can just be like, yeah, oh no, I don't have enough time to read that pattern. Well, that's because you're only reading 5 notes at a time. You need to read 12 notes at a time. If you read the entire screen at a time, then you have the whole screen scroll to react. I don't know that I could react to another human being changing things on the fly.
Well, either, maybe CPUs, though.
Maybe. I don't know.
We'll find out. We will find out.
We sure will.
I think later this season, although I'm not 100% sure on that. John ends with a few more thoughts here. Not too many more. I've got some thoughts on how you might approach playing certain JRPGs on the show. Use fast forward options. Cheat if you want. Who cares? But as much as I enjoy games in that genre, I don't think too many of them are actually important for developing one's overall video game literacy, at least after a certain point. Of course, I'm sure some version of the first Dragon Quest will be in the show's curriculum, and I'm equally sure playing it will make for an illuminatory experience. Thanks for the great show, guys. Looking forward to hearing how you both tackle an old school text game with Colossal Cave Adventure. Pretty good name for a game. Colossal Cave Adventure. Anyway, gamer out.
Gamer out.
Well, you heard it, John. I hope you liked it. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to play several JRPGs. At a certain point, part of the aim of this show will not just be to develop your video game literacy, but also just because I think games are good and I want to play them and talk about them with you.
Yes. I mean, here's the other problem is that, like, there's a lot of JRPGs that like, even I know, like, okay, the mechanics and the actual playing of the game are not particularly important for video game literacy because there's a lot of sameness, but like, the story and characters are extremely important for video game literacy. Because, like, everybody knows this character, or everybody knows this setting, or everybody knows this end fight or something like that. And so, yeah, I'm curious how that will go. Just in terms of, like, okay, can I see enough of this to become literate? Like, it'll be more, it's not necessarily important that I beat Colossal Cave Adventure, but with some of the Final Fantasies, it might be like, yeah, if you didn't get to that point, then you don't know anything about that Final Fantasy or whatever.
Right.
So we'll see.
That is something that, and maybe, I do think with many of these, it's just not going to be realistic for you to beat it in a week.
Right.
Or me, for that matter. So, yeah, I think some of them, I don't think it's that important if we actually finish them. You'll still be able to talk about them if you've played a decent chunk. But maybe for some of them, we could do a follow-up or something later on where it's like, oh, I did get to the end of Final Fantasy II. And who knows, we can just talk about the plot.
Yeah.
Or
I
something.
love how many times we're going to just have this conversation where we're like, yep, we sure don't know how we're going to do that.
We're going to find out soon. We are going to do Final Fantasy. We're going to do Dragon Quest. We're going to do Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, all the big ones from that era we're going to do. Maybe we'll do Breath of Fire. I don't know. There's some of the, like I said, I am not, I don't know a ton. I'm not a JRPG expert. So if people do have specific recommendations, let us know. But we're probably just going to jump into it blindly and play a bunch of them and have fun. I mean, they're a big part of video games. You do got to play a lot of RPGs, J or otherwise. I mean, arguably, Zelda and Colossal Cave Adventure both are, in some ways, the roots of JRPGs. So...
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to say that they are not, in some sense, RPGs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in a very broad, not necessarily a video game sense, but in a broader gaming sense.
And also, John also mentioned that NES Zapper. I don't know if we're going to I feel like we should do Duck Hunt. However, that is a game that really requires, you need the Zapper and you need a CRT TV to play it on. There is a local retro arcade by me that I think I've mentioned that I think has a CRT and may have a copy of Duck Hunt. That may be something that, like, if we want to play that or any other Zapper game, we actually have to go somewhere to do it. Because I don't know about you, I have an NES, but I don't have a CRT TV. So
it's a very special episode. Yeah, we'll upload phone footage of filming each other playing it. Arcade.
I guess I'm sure there's like emulator versions where you just use your mouse, which probably defeats the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, that sounds like it sucks, but I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. Did they release it on the Wii? Maybe they might have. Anyway, thanks for that email, John. Loved hearing your thoughts. We also have, I hesitate to really read it, but I guess we did kind of encourage this, a follow-up from last week's email from Steven.
I don't remember encouraging it, but...
Well, Steven says, hey, Game Boys, is that better than Bad Boys? I don't know.
Who knows? Our listeners will figure something out for us. Yeah.
Remember, Steven mentioned a Zelda walkthrough that had some 9/11 references in it?
I do.
And I said, well, why didn't you put a source? I want to know who wrote this. And so he did. Said, first I want to give credit where it's due. The walkthrough I used was the top-rated one on GameFAQs, and it's found here. While nothing will be as good as the excerpt I sent you last week, the guide has all kinds of gems in it, like this one. And there's a passage which I don't feel like reading, which we could talk about how one of the dungeons in Zelda is shaped like a manji, which is very similar to a Nazi swastika.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we didn't talk about that last week. But I do. So the walkthrough, which has a link here, is the NES GameFAQs Zelda walkthrough written by C. Moriarty. And what's crazy about this is that I clicked on this, saw this, and I recognize that name. Like, I've used guides by this person before.
I was wondering. I was going to be like, is there going to be a thing here where it's like it was written by GameFAQs user Quentz?
No, I did not have the patience or intelligence to write a guide for any games, but I've definitely used this person's guides before. He's written several for different Zeldas and some other games.
I think C. Moriarty is friends with Seymour Butts.
Stephen continues, anyway, sounds like we largely agree on Zelda, though I think you're right that if I hadn't put myself under a time crunch to beat it, I probably could have enjoyed it more. Personally, though, I'm still a fan of the more prevalent Zelda formula found in later games, and I'm one of those people who does miss traditional dungeons in Breath of the Wild. I like the sense of progression you get from getting items that actually affect how you fight enemies or traverse the world more than I like the flexibility of being able to do whatever you want. That said, the spirit of Zelda is alive and well, both in the most recent games in that series and in other games as well. Your whole conversation about, this is too hard, I must be doing something wrong, reminded me a lot of the early part of Elden Ring. The game funnels you towards an early boss who is 10 times harder than anything you've faced, and while you can force your way through, most players take it as a sign to go leave, explore, and discover a variety of more manageable areas. Elden Ring also features a desolate land overrun by monsters, where the few survivors are holed up in caves, and a story that's way more clearly laid out in supplemental material than the game itself. Make of that what you will. I also realized my mistake when talking about... I shouldn't have called it a jetpack-based shooter. I should have called it the classic sci-fi video game and... Keep up the good work, Steven. I'm just going to say right now, I am going to be bleeping every instance of the name... I will not allow Stephen to put that on our podcast. Not saying it. Listeners, you don't need to know what that is.
Yeah. Everyone loves Zelda. We've gotten so many emails about Zelda.
A lot of Zelda thoughts. I would argue Elden Ring, I would argue, is heavily influenced by Breath of the Wild. So it makes a lot of sense that it's also has a lot in common with the NES Zelda game, because they're all sort of a piece of the same cloth. We will talk a lot more about Zelda and its formula when we actually play more Zelda games in the future.
Right, like Zelda 2.
Like Zelda 2. That is one of them. We will play it some point in the near future. All right. I think that's it. If anybody wants to email us, you can. badwithgamespodcast@gmail.com. Get in now in these early days when, we're still at a point where it's still cool to like us. We haven't hit the mainstream yet. So if you write an email, we're going to read all 5 paragraphs of it. Pretty good. You can also check out our other channel at Worse with Games. I'm committing. I think by the time this episode's up, we're going to have a Zelda commentary video, right? We're going to do that.
Yeah. We were supposed to do that. I think we still will do that for sure.
Great. So that'll be over there. That'll be fun. For all you Zelda heads out there, you can't get enough. Maybe we'll talk about the swastika stuff over there.
Who knows what we'll say.
And we have patreon.com/badwithgames if you want to check that out. I don't know. This is an interesting episode because we really front-loaded this show with Mario, Tetris, Pac-Man, Zelda. And now here we had a total no-name text adventure that only true nerds know about or
Yeah.
remember, and nobody really wants
Yeah.
to see.
Huge, big name among extremely weird old nerds. I'd never heard of it before. So.
Yeah, I mean, most of the games we're going to talk about, and probably on the whole show, or at least the early days, are very well-known games people know. But there's a few in here in this first season, like this one, that are just pretty obscure, and will really test the strength of our podcasting abilities. I think we passed with flying colors.
I think so too.
Do you think I'm waiting for the first time that there's a game you rate higher than me?
Ooh, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll happen. I think that'll happen when we get a little out of the classics, right?
Yeah.
When you start being like, I don't have to inflate this score because it's the first time it was ever done. And I'm like, yeah, but I liked it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting.
And what are we doing next week on the podcast?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Next week on the show, we are not moving too far ahead in time. We're just going a couple years up to 1978. So keep those bell bottoms on. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Right? That was right? Didn't they wear bell bottoms? Or was that
something like that?
Disco? Next week, we are playing another classic arcade game. One of the first real phenomenons of video games, Space Invaders. And once again, really testing our ability to talk for 2 hours about something, I think. But we'll find out how it goes.
This is the game I was begging for, the one that I just kind of play mindlessly and don't think about.
No, this is your reward for getting through the cave.
Yay!
Okay. You ready to leave?
Yeah, I think this gamer can go out.
All right. Well, as we always say, you're on Bad with Games.
Yeah. Our 2-word text command.
Oh. Well, it only recognizes the first 4 letters. So we would say, game out. Game out?